All new Sundays on Food Network. This is Rogers TV.
Welcome again to this week's episode of LDN ONT TV here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Bronagh Morgan, and this is the show where we talk about what you're talking about and thinking about here in London, Southwestern Ontario. And I know something that's on a lot of people's minds right now is vaccination, hospitals, COVID-19, and in particular, vaccination for children. Recently, with the announcement that vaccines are now available for children 5 and up, that's a lot of people have maybe a little bit of anxiety about needles themselves, and in particular, this new vaccine, and in particular, children who, maybe have a little bit of resistance to going and get a shot because, it's not fun for even grown-ups like me sometimes. Today, I am really pleased to have with us on the show, Chantal Singh. Now, we've met Chantal before on our show at a previous episode when we talked about work that she does for Children's Hospital around creating memories at end of life. Today, Chantal is here representing the Children's Hospital and to talk a little bit about a wonderful program that's been implemented called the Comfort Promise. And she is a registered nurse. She is a professional practice consultant for the pediatrics department at Children's Hospital. Welcome to the show, Chantal.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here on such an important topic.
It is absolutely important for me, and I think for a lot of our viewers. Vaccine hesitancy is so important that we can keep our kids safe, keep our community safe. Vaccination, obviously, it's, long history, but it can be a pretty scary, especially for the small people in our lives. Talk to me about, this program, why it's so important and how it's working.
Yeah. So, I think it's so hard in this day and age, being connected all the time on social media. You see so much information, and just knowing where to find the right information and where to find the supports that you need in an important time like this. And really, the biggest thing for everyone to remember is that COVID-19 is an illness. It's a disease that can affect people all the way from 0 to 100 plus. And just because our kids necessarily don't always get the same symptoms as an adult if they get COVID-19 doesn't mean that they can't get really sick or have very detrimental long-term lasting effects. And so that's why it's so important for us to get our kiddos vaccinated and let them get back to some normal, regular life the way that they want to. And I think we're all just really looking forward to getting back to a little bit of normalcy after a very long, almost 2 years. So obviously, as a pediatric nurse, I'm an ICU nurse by background in pediatrics, and working there over the years, I have seen some great examples of people who are really great at supporting children through painful procedures. But sometimes there's also room for us to improve as well, improve that experience for children and for their families. And I will also say from my own personal experience being on the other side of the bed, those things are really what has made this a really strong passion of mine to really improve and optimize that experience for kiddos and our families. And so one of the really cool things that I've been able to be a part of this year is working with our amazing team at Children's to get our specialized COVID-19 vaccination clinic set up at Children's Hospital. And really the purpose of that clinic was to meet and support the needs of kids and families who might need some additional support during this time of getting vaccinated. So the clinic was actually opened in September when we were just kind of vaccinating that youth group, so 12 to 17 at that time. And we've obviously been anxiously anticipating the approval through Health Canada for the vaccine for our younger kiddos, 5 to 11 years old, sorry. So with that announcement, obviously in partnership with the Middlesex London Health Unit, unit. We're really, really excited to be able to get this off the ground. Kids started getting vaccinated on Friday last week here in our community. And so really what we're trying to do is make all of the clinic spaces where kids could be getting vaccinated as child-friendly as possible, but implementing some of those components of the Comfort Promise that you mentioned, which is a program we are part of at Children's all the time, but is even more important now, obviously in this vaccine rollout. So I'm super happy to kind of share some of those tips and tricks and what you guys can do at home as parents and families, and for your kiddos as well, to make this the most successful experience as possible.
Wonderful. And I know we're going to be watching after the break the video, like to give us a little bit more information about the Comfort Promise. But give me, I guess, maybe the Coles Note version of, or I guess we don't use Coles Notes anymore, but give me the short version of, I'm dating myself, of what it's all about. And, you know, I know it's a new program, but these are kind of strategies that have been, you know, long thought about, even, you know, long prior to COVID vaccines for, you know, the flu shot or any other kind of painful procedure that kids go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are important strategies, like you said, that can be implemented, and not only COVID-19 vaccination, but in any sort of vaccination or painful procedures. And really where this comes from is there's a lot of literature and a lot of evidence to support that when children experience traumatic, painful procedures, that affects them for life. And so, you know, I think lots of viewers probably can think back to a time that they had a painful procedure or experience that maybe wasn't as positive, and they kind of hang on to those memories. And what I just want to say to everyone is it's normal. It's normal to have some fear of the unknown, of the unexpected. And so what the Comfort Promise really does is it involves both the child and the family, where that's appropriate, to really make that experience as good as we possibly can, to help prepare the child and give them as much control and autonomy in that experience, to make it what's best for them. We know every child is unique. Every child's needs are unique. And so kind of our three take-home things, I guess I would say, is if I can share that with our viewers, is number one, just making sure you have enough time. So we all know what it's like to be rushed when you're trying to get to an appointment or get to work in the morning. And no one ever starts off on a great foot when you're feeling rushed or you're not on time. So just making sure you give yourself that extra little bit of time so that you don't feel stressed, you're not feeling overwhelmed. Walking into a situation like that is never going to be helpful. And we know that even when kids can feel that their parents are overwhelmed or stressed or anxious, that can totally rub off onto them as well, right? So really just making sure that they feel that, you know, that they have the space to ask questions and to kind of take things at their own pace is really important. The other thing, really just setting expectations. So again, for both parent or family and for child. So for the parent, knowing that some kids might go into their vaccination appointment and they might try, and it may not be the right day. And sitting there for 3 hours, you know, waiting for that shot to get in the arm is probably not going to lend itself to being the greatest experience. So whether that's taking some breaks or walking away from the situation for a little bit and coming back with the support of the staff that are helping to vaccinate. Those are some of the strategies that we're really kind of trying to promote, but also knowing that as a parent, that that's not a failure, and not letting your child feel like that's a failure. And to all the kiddos who might be listening, it's okay. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of extra time. We actually at our clinic at Children's have had a lot of kids and families who have come to tour the space, or just to see what they're walking into, just to know before, you know, what that setting looks like and what they can expect. And then from kind of the child-friendly side of that, expectations in terms of, you know, what will that look like? Okay, so maybe I'm going to have some numbing cream put on my arm before the vaccine. So we have some resources available on our website that do promote that are available to families. You can pick that up at your pharmacy, for example, or using some of the strategies in our Comfort Promise, like distracting, having those support people there with you, talking about something you enjoy, whether that's your pets or what you're most excited to do after you get your vaccine and can get out and do things again. Those are all some, you know, kind of little tips and strategies that I think seem very common sense, but can really make a big difference for kids. And so the third thing is just really being prepared. So being prepared as much as we possibly can by doing some of those things, but also recognizing that in that that moment, sometimes, we do have to take a step back. We do have to take a break. So really just kind of doing all of these things that we can as much as beforehand, and having those conversations with your child to ask them what their fears or what their anxieties might be before, so that you can address some of those things before you go into the situation.
Really great, practical, like you said, common sense, but maybe sometimes when we get anxious, we forget about these things that we probably make a lot of sense that we should be practicing all the time, but really appreciate you highlighting some of those. We have to take a break. Hope our viewers will stay with us, because we're going to show a short video about the Comfort Promise when we come back, and then we'll have more discussion with Chantal Singh. Stay with us.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Carbon monoxide is a deadly gas you can't see, smell, or taste.
Homes with fuel-burning appliances and/or attached garages must have working CO alarms installed outside all sleeping areas.
Don't let the silent killer get you. Install working CO alarms today.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
I'm John Abbott from now Vancouver, BC, and we're working with TSN out here on the West Coast, and have been since 2014.
A lot of power play opportunities going
back to when I was 5 years old. There was a big part of me that wanted to be in the broadcast business, and the ultimate goal, the ultimate dream was to be a play-by-play guy.
Moves into Campbell, he takes a bump by Beaulieu.
I really wanted to understand how broadcast came together from all aspects, and so to me, local cable and the volunteer position within it was the perfect place to start.
Todd Perry shot for score!
I would not be where I am today without the help of the people that guided me at Rogers TV and the opportunity Rogers TV gave me. And it's been a huge benefit to me, and that's an approach that, if possible, I completely recommend.
You're watching Rogers TV, London.
Welcome back to LDNONT TV. I'm Bronagh, and I'm here with Chantal Singh from Children's Hospital. Chantal, tell us about this video we're going to watch about the Comfort Promise.
Yeah, so this video is about the Comfort Promise, which is a program that we are a part of at Children's Hospital. And it just goes over some of the considerations that might be really important for children who are getting vaccinated. So I'm excited to share this with you today.
The Comfort Promise involves 4 bundle items. First item is comfort positioning. So ideally, the child on the mom's lap or in a comfortable position in the stretcher or the bed. The other item is a topical anesthetic cream that is applied 20 minutes prior to the needle-related procedure. The other item is sucrose, which is actually sugar water, which we use in all infants, so from 0 to 12 months. It doesn't work that well in kids older than 12 months, so we use it in the little infants. And the other one is distraction. So again, that's age-related. It can be a tablet with some games on it for an older child, or a video, and books, toys, coloring books for younger children. The emergency department is the place in the hospital where most needle-related procedures are done. More than 70% of those kids undergo a painful procedure, and the vast majority of those are needle-related procedures. The Comfort Promise does improve health outcomes for children. We have some data that measures similar to the Comfort Promise, which reduce children's distress as they're undergoing painful procedures, improves in the short term their interaction with the healthcare team. But it also makes parents feel happier, so parents are much more satisfied when their children are less distressed. And finally, it improves nursing morale because it essentially endows nurses with the ability to provide comfort in ways that they may not have been able to do before. So LHSC is unique. We're able to turn these comfort items into medical directives. So that empowers the nurse to be able to institute these without any oversight of a physician or an order from a physician. Most of the time now, it only takes one, maybe two nurses to put in an IV or to get some blood from a child, whereas before, they would have to take multiple nurses to restrain the child. Since we've implemented the Comfort Promise, our compliance is now 70%, and it's climbing. And that's compliance with at least one bundle item. The inpatient units are gradually coming on board, and we expect their compliance in the first 3 months to be close to 50 to 60%. Just like to thank the Children's Health Foundation for their support of the Comfort Promise. They sponsored a lot of it and are supporting us in every way with their publicity and their ongoing funding of the Comfort Promise.
So that was the Comfort Promise video. We're going to be back after a break with more conversation with Chantal, and we're going to be joined by a youth guest who has some vaccine and needle hesitancy. We'll see how she felt about that video and the Comfort Promise. Stay with us.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
When you're online, Rogers TV on YouTube shares news and events from your community, like messages from local leaders, updates on the latest health news, local business presenting their new offerings, and how our local communities are working their way through these unprecedented times. Visit and subscribe to Rogers TV on YouTube for the latest local information.
Watch London Nationals hockey at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Night's action on Rogers TV.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back to LDN ONT TV. I'm Bronagh. I'm here with Chantal Singh from Children's Hospital. And now we're joined by Holly. Holly, I guess, is the target audience for the Comfort Promise because Holly is not a huge fan of needles. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Hello.
So Holly is 10 and recently, went along with me to get my flu shot. And I get my flu shot every year, and I like to think that I set a good example by, I don't really have needle hesitancy, but still Holly was pretty reluctant to get a flu shot this year. So Chantal, how can we make the situation, I guess, a little bit better for Holly?
Yeah, absolutely. So Holly, tell me a little bit about getting needles or having painful procedures in the past. Can you think of a time that you had a needle or a procedure that went really well?
One time I had to get like a booster shot, and since I did not have like a needle before, I just very much did not like it. And apparently my sister was in the waiting room kind of thing with a bunch of other kids that were going to get it too. So everybody else was more scared from me being very from it.
A little bit loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's normal, right? It's normal for any of us, I think, to be a little bit fearful of something we don't know or we don't know what to expect about it, right? So that's totally normal. What sorts of things normally help you when you're in a situation where you're feeling a little bit afraid?
Usually if there's some kind of thing that's going on that I don't really like, if I'm like doing something else, then it kind of helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we try to talk about with the nurses and the doctors and the pharmacists and the other staff that are going to be giving out these vaccines is distraction is a really great technique. So I'm so glad that you said that. When you get your needles or when you have a procedure, are you the kind of person that likes someone to give you a countdown? So if I'm going to poke you, do you want me to tell you I'm going to poke you on 3 and count to 3? Or do you like to not know when I'm going to poke?
I probably think just randomly kind of thing. So then I would just not know.
Yeah, for sure. And do you like to be able to watch for when the nurse or whoever is going to poke you, or do you like to turn your head in the other direction so you don't have to look?
Probably not look, no.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And these are some of the questions that, we should be asking, not just you, but any kid that's going to get vaccinated. And I know for myself, I like to have that little bit of a countdown to know when that needle is going to go into my arm, but not everybody is the same. And I think that's what's so important about parts of this comfort promise. This is why it's so important that we use these strategies, because if we treat everybody the same, it's not going to be effective, right? And it's not going to be the best experience for every person. And we know everybody's experience is going to be unique, right? So Holly, I'm so glad that you said that. What sorts of things do you find are normally helpful to distract you? Do you like to blow bubbles or play a game or talk to a friend or your mom beside you?
Probably either talking to somebody or just like playing a game kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were playing a game and you weren't looking at where the needle was going to go in and you didn't know exactly when they were going to poke you, do you think that those things might help to make your experience of getting vaccinated a little bit better?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. And then maybe you would feel a little bit more confident next time that you have to get a needle because this time might not be so bad, right? Yeah. So tell me, what is the number one biggest thing that you're feeling a little bit fearful about or that you're worried about getting your vaccine?
Yes, it's mostly just like, I'm not really sure what's going to happen kind of thing.
Yeah. So do you think that it would be helpful for someone to walk you through what the steps might be? Like we might get you to take your shirt, pull that up so we can look at your arm and show you exactly where the needle is going to go. Would that be helpful? Probably. Yeah. Anything else that you think would be helpful?
I don't think so, no.
How about hugging a stuffed animal? Are we allowed to bring comfort items when we go get vaccinated?
Absolutely. We totally promote that. So bringing something that might be special to you that you can hold, again, just like distraction. So some of the things that especially our child life specialists in the hospital can do, particularly in our specialized clinic at the hospital, is they'll use some of these distraction techniques. So sometimes they can use different items or sensory items above the spot where they're going to vaccinate. So it actually can cause some stimulation in the area above so that you're not so focused on the painful feeling below. Some of the other things that sometimes we can use are things like numbing cream. So there is some resource sheets on our website for families. And typically that goes on about 30 minutes before. You can get that at your pharmacy, your local pharmacy. And so we just have to put it on about 30 minutes before you get poked, just to make sure that the medication has time to take effect. So those would be some other things that maybe you guys could think about or talk about before you book your vaccination appointment or before you come to get vaccinated.
I really appreciated you mentioning, having something to look forward to after you get through this procedure. Because I know, like, when I've had to do difficult, medical things in the past, having, okay, well, after this is done, I'm gonna go and get my nails done or something like that. Like having something to look forward to, kind of can get you over that hurdle.
Absolutely. A lot of parents I know have joked that they're not above bribery, and I am a big proponent of that. I love treats. I love doing fun things. I'm sure Holly loves doing fun things too. So, most kids love having something. Again, that's another distraction technique to think about, what are you going to be doing afterwards? And one of the things that I like to talk about with people, I did give some vaccines earlier in the year, albeit to adult patients, which is not normally my wheelhouse, but just talking to people about what they're most excited to do after they get vaccinated and we get back to a little bit of normal life. And I think for our kids, this has been such a long 2 years, especially for them. So those are some other things that maybe you can talk about when you're sitting in the chair before or while you're in that vaccination appointment as well. And the other thing I think that, is really important is obviously the person who's getting the needle might be a little bit fearful or anxious, and that's okay. But parents or families might also feel the same way. And again, that's okay. But just knowing that how we feel, sometimes kids are very perceptive of those things. Sometimes we don't give them enough credit, right, Holly? I'm sure sometimes you can pick up when the adults around you are feeling a bit anxious or afraid. And that's something that's really important, so that when you're in the space getting vaccinated, everyone, you can support each other as well, right? So if mom is feeling a little bit anxious about you getting the vaccine, maybe just asking if it's helpful for you guys to hold hands together, right? Maybe that makes the experience a little bit better for both of you, right? So I think sometimes having those conversations, again, seems like a very simple thing, but it's so important. And sometimes there's so many little pieces that we don't know about, right? I know in my own experience, having some of those painful procedures, they were really small things that we were able to change. And my next experiences were a lot better, right? So I can certainly attest to some of those small things can make a really, really big difference for sure.
Absolutely. Now, Holly, Chantal mentioned about the things that we're looking forward to, when vaccinations are, everywhere and we can start to get back to a little bit of normalcy. Can you think of maybe one or two things that you'd really like to do when, COVID is a word that we used last year? COVID is in the past.
Western Fair.
Western Fair. Yeah, we definitely miss the Western Fair every year. It's right around Holly's birthday. So
what's your favorite part of going to the Western Fair, Holly?
The rides, probably. There's a few certain ones that we really like going on. Like, I think we one time went on the mouse trap, and she thought it was very scary.
It was very scary. I didn't think it was.
That's a great example of how sometimes kids can pick up that their parents or their family members can be anxious, right? But
I'm anxious right now.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said that, Holly, about what your favorite rides are. So another technique that often we'll use is thinking about somewhere that makes you really happy, right? So if you're really looking forward to getting back to the Western Fair, maybe when you're sitting in the chair about to get your vaccine, you can think about, okay, what ride am I most excited to go on? And you can close your eyes and picture yourself there, right? Since we know you don't want to look at the needle and you don't want to count down, you can just picture yourself on the Western Fair ride of your choice, maybe getting some cotton candy or something fun afterwards. And hopefully it'll be over before you know it, right?
Sound good. And it's actually at the Western Fair is one of the clinics, I think, that you can get your vaccination at. Is that right?
Yes. So the Agriflex Mass Vaccination Clinic is still open. All of the clinics that are available to book are through the Middlesex London Health Unit portal. And then also some of those resources that I talked about. So the comfort plan that goes through a lot of those strategies for you to have that conversation with your child is available on our LHSC Children's website. We have our vaccination clinic, all the information there, as well as the booking link directly to the clinic. So all that information is available there for you, as well as the resources about the numbing cream that you can pick up at your pharmacy if that's helpful for you guys as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that great information with us today, Chantal from Children's Hospital. And thanks for being with us too, Holly. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in today. We hope you'll join us again for more LDN ONT next week. I'm Bronagh Morgan. Have a great week.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
When it comes to drugs, how much freedom is too much for kids?
Drugs are out there. Will my teen feel free to say no around other kids? I didn't live drug-free when I was younger. Can I admit that to my kids?
Drugs worry me, but how can I feel free to talk about it with my kids?
Questions about drugs and kids? Drug Free Kids Canada.
I'm Shannon Woolley, host of Batter Up Beachville on Rogers TV. Join myself and Doug Harris as we learn more about the first recorded baseball game in Beachville. Watch it on Rogers Cable, rogerstv.com. Thanks for watching.
You're watching Rogers TV, London.